Next from Springfield, Senators Thomas Collerton, Paul Schimpf, and Michael Hastings hold a press conference to discuss a bill aimed at preventing veteran suicides. This runs about 20 minutes.
First of all, thank you very much for coming today. My name is Senator Tom Cullerton. I represent the 23rd District of DuPage County. To my left is Senator Paul Schimpf. He represents down in Southern Illinois, and to my right is Senator Michael Hastings, who represents the South Suburbs. We all sit on. I chair the Veterans Affairs Committee. Paul is Senator Schimpf is the minority spokesperson. And I thank you all for coming today to talk about the issue. We're going to talk about just what we found and where we're at now with the veteran suicide bills that are going through the chamber right now. Paul and I both served on the Veteran Suicide Task Force, a year-long initiative that took us all over the state to talk about veteran suicide. And I'll go into my sort of prepared statement. House Bill 2647 is a collection of comprehensive recommendations that work to ensure veterans have better access to services, treatment for mental trauma and depression, as well as better access to employment opportunities. A theme throughout the process is finding ways to access veteran resources promised to the state, as well as the disconnect between federal and state resources. House Bill 2647 creates a connection between the Illinois Department of Veterans Affairs and the U.S. Department of Defense to help streamline and remove redundancies when returning veterans to redeem their benefits. One veteran lost to suicide is one too many. The proposals outlined in this legislation are common sense solutions to help Illinois remove our barriers between veterans and the resources they qualify for. This initiative wasn't compiled in haste, over 1 hour, over 1 week. It was heard through a year-long testimony, inputs, concerns raised by veterans, their families, and veteran organizations throughout the state. This is a testament to their hard work. I thank Senator Schimpf for being on that task force. I thank Senator Hastings for his continued support of veterans consistently. I'm proud to advance this measure, and we will start moving this forward. It passed through committee yesterday, through the Veterans Affairs Committee yesterday, so we are now on second reading, and at this point I'll let Senator Schimpf say a few comments. Also, just so you know, I was in the U.S. Army from 1990 to 1993. I did not attain the level of either of these two fine officers, so if you see them push me around, they'll probably have me do push-ups later. It'll work out really well. Senator Schimpf, pardon me.
Thank you, Senator Cullerton. Thank you all for coming today to this press conference. My name is Senator Paul Schimpf. I represent the 58th Senate District in southwestern Illinois. I am the minority spokesperson in the Veteran Affairs Committee. I was also a member of the Veterans Suicide Task Force. I'd like to echo what Senator Cullerton said. There was a lot of hard work. That organization did a lot of good work. We had 6 different hearings across the state. We had a number of witnesses come and testify, and we produced a report that really was the beginning of a conversation of what we can do to try to address this problem. There have been numerous studies done about how many veterans we lose a day to suicide. As Senator Cullerton said, losing 1 veteran a day is one too many. Right now, the latest studies show that we're losing 20 veterans a day to veteran suicide. And that's unacceptable. If there's anything that we can do as lawmakers in the state of Illinois, this is not a partisan issue. This is something that we all agree on. We need to do a better job. The VA does good work, but the VA can always improve. I'm proud to be a part of the Veteran Suicide Task Force. I'm proud to be able to help work on this issue in the Illinois Senate. I look forward to working with not only my 2 colleagues that are here today, 2 of my fellow veterans, but also the entire Illinois Senate. Also, I think all the members of the General Assembly. This is something that we do want to get right. We want to make sure that whatever tools the Illinois Department of Veteran Affairs needs, any support that we can give them, we're going to provide that. So I am going to be the chief co-sponsor of this bill in the Illinois Senate, and this is a topic that is something that transcends politics. It's something that is important, and it's something that I look forward to working on here in the next couple of weeks.
Good morning, everyone. Senator Mike Hastings. I represent the south suburbs of Chicago. And for those of you who don't know, Senator Schimpf is a Naval Academy graduate, and me being a West Point graduate. So we may end up wrestling here on the ground. But the one thing about every one of us here is that we're a combined arms team. There's no bipartisanship in terms of issues that affect veterans. Illinois is the best veteran-friendly state in the entire country, and I think all of us can be proud of that, and those that serve on the Veteran Affairs Committee, we're going to continue to strive towards that. So whether it's the Illinois Veterans Grant that we offer to returning veterans in Illinois to give them an education, to Illinois Joining Forces, where we provide access to jobs for veterans, to a veteran suicide task force. This is the least we can do for our men and women returning back home from overseas and those that have served. And I can't wait for the next few steps we have here with House Bill 2647, which will be coming out of the Senate here. It's on second reading. But there's a multitude of veteran initiatives right now that are in the hopper that we're working on, and I think will overall benefit not just veterans, but it'll benefit Illinois. And Illinois is in a tough time right now, and I know that if veterans are able to serve our country, fight our wars, they're able to come back into our workforce and serve our state and make our state a better place. So with that, I thank my colleagues. I thank all of you for your time. Very rare do we thank you for your time, but really appreciate our veterans and what they do, and I look forward to this bill passing. Thank you very much.
Do we have questions? Yes.
This multitude of initiatives in one breath, how are these pieces of legislation going to help make life easier for our veterans returning and their issues going forward?
So one of the priorities, I'll give you just a small example, was a bill we passed out before, but also one of the things that addresses here is making sure that our VA is capitalizing and capturing all the federal dollars that are available. We stand a lot of times to lose federal funding, whether it's in this issue, other areas, but part of this bill actually moves forward, making sure our Department of Veterans Affairs captures every federal dollar available to the state of Illinois and moving forward. You'll see a lot of the times in the disability community and the disabled community, they look towards capturing federal dollars when it comes to mental health. Not with veterans, but just on other issues as well. So a lot of times we end up missing federal dollars. This is going to instruct the Veterans Affairs Organization and Department of Veterans Affairs to capture every dollar that's available for the state of Illinois.
Now,
Go ahead.
Well, one of the things that I learned when I was working on the Veteran Suicide Task Force is that this is what we used to call in the Pentagon a wicked problem. It is very complex. There's no easy solution to it. One of the things that makes this such a challenge is there is a stigma in the veteran community about saying that it's a sign of weakness to seek help. This bill asks that the Illinois Department of Veteran Affairs actually do some messaging to try to address that. It also, there were a number of findings that in the Illinois Veteran Suicide Task Force. This bill seeks to have the Department of Veteran Affairs really take some actions based on those findings in the task force report.
well, Senator, I'm glad you mentioned that because that was one of my next questions. The stigma, a lot of progress has been made. If you had a broken arm, and someone said, "Hey, you got to get to the ER."
Right.
Oh gosh, what if somebody finds out? And if you had they call it behavioral health now. If you had a problem that way, you'd feel a stigma. If you had a broken arm, well, of course you'd get help. And it sounds like that message is only part of the way there when it comes to removing the stigma from behavioral health and suicide.
I agree with you, and that's just one of the things. One of the other challenges that we're finding with veterans as well is we say that we're much more connected as a society because we're all tied in with our smartphones, but yet one of the key things that you have to have for your well-being is the ability to interact with people, talk with those who have shared experiences. This bill talks about how we should emphasize having veteran service officers who have some combat experience. It also talks about how we can try to help the veteran service organizations, groups like the VFW, so that veterans can talk with each other. That's something that really does wonders for mental health, is just being able to talk about the challenges that we face.
I just want to elaborate a little bit more. You know, legislators sometimes don't have a clue what it's like to stand in the shoes of a veteran. I think the one thing you see here with us three is that we actually laced up our boots and served our country, and both Paul and I overseas. You know, I've been to Iraq, to the borders of Syria, the borders of Iran. I've lost soldiers to suicide. My commander suffers from depression, suffers from mental health. No matter how tough you are, no matter how strong you are, no matter how you know, what type of a bad man you think you are, this stuff will creep up on you. And all the stuff that I've seen overseas, whether it be a car bomb, rocket attack, people getting shot, you know, puts a significant toll on you as a person. And you know, I think it's important that we realize that people need help.
You know, in Vietnam, now, most of us, except Lee, too young to remember, folks coming home from Vietnam, and we hear that, you know, we kind of turned our back on those guys, and now in the 90s, 21st century, it's gone the other way, almost so much to go over the top, and in some cases exploitive. You know, if you go to a pro football game or something like that, I mean, in a way, it's almost too much. I'm wondering if our response to veterans and all then and now plays any role in what you guys are talking about.
I don't think you can ever go overboard in treating mental illness. That's just my perspective. And we as a legislative body over the last year, 2 years I should say, we fought for medicinal marijuana for PTSD, something that this governor didn't want to do. And I'll just tell you right now, the Vietnam generation, they've been pushing for that for as long as I can remember. Now, some people may have some ulterior motives, and you know, whatever that may be is one thing, but whether it's PTSD for marijuana, whether it's allowing military service to count for college credits, whether it's giving property tax relief to those disabled veterans and their surviving spouses, to providing mental health treatment. I don't know if you've looked around the country, but I think we're leading the way in terms of initiative for veterans, and it's all a combined arms effort. And that's the one thing that I really love about Illinois. Most people don't have a lot to love about Illinois, but the one thing I do love about Illinois is the fact that regardless of what party you're with, we could all get behind this issue, and that's taking care of our veterans.
Senator Hastings, what was the year-long process like? I mean, you traveled around the state, it sounds like, different areas. Which areas did you go to, and does anything stick out from what you heard from veterans?
I think the one miscommunication is the benefits you receive from the federal government and the state government, and that needs to be clarified. And the coordination between the two needs to be better. And I think every veteran understands that, and we understand that too, because you know, I get veteran benefits from the VA, just like everyone, you know, every other veteran has access to it. And there are some serious disconnects, but again, through communication, through good relationships, I think we can work through that.
And just so, the Suicide Task Force, we were down at Scott Air Force Base. We were out in Jim Oberweiss's area. I'm trying to remember the community college now. We were up in McHenry County. We did down in Cook County, as well as meetings over the phone, bringing all the organizations together. But we had 6 meetings, and we could make sure that our press people have all the different locations we were at. And it was one true message throughout. There was sort of a feeling of loss, a feeling of sort of a disconnect, and not knowing where to turn. And whether it was they didn't know who to talk to at a community college. I will have to say some of our community colleges have the best resources for veterans. They get them right in. They help them with the paperwork to learn how to get your DD-214 and then actually apply for your college fund, apply for all the different grants that are available to you. So our community colleges and our universities do an incredible job of reaching out to make sure that veterans have that access. Because here in Illinois, we definitely value veterans going back to school. It's been a big push from this General Assembly long before all of us even got here. Mike and I came here in 2012. Paul got recently elected, and this was something that's been going on for 15, 20 years, making sure our veterans have an access to a higher education. And we were very pleased, and we want to make sure that they know the ability to get the Helmets to Hard Hats program as well through the state of Illinois, so that we can get them into job training programs. The Teamsters actually have a program right now where they're on military bases getting guys CDL licenses. And then and that's a federal initiative throughout. The city of Chicago just opened up in one of its colleges a cybersecurity opportunity for veterans to go to school for cybersecurity issues. So we're pushing as hard as we can in Illinois. Illinois, if you're going to be a veteran, as Senator Hastings says, is probably the top state to do it, because we do take care of them and we do want them back, and we do want them educated and in the workforce as fast as possible. And
No, it's just, this is something where I think it's good policy to support veterans, not only because, we do owe them a debt of gratitude. They put their lives on the line, they made sacrifices for us, but also, quite frankly, the challenges that we face as a state are such that, we need everybody to work together to solve them. Well, if you're a veteran and you've had a successful tour of duty in the military, you have demonstrated that you can work with people from across the political and social spectrum. So it really does make sense both to support veterans because it's the right thing to do. We owe them a debt of gratitude, but also our veterans are the people that have demonstrated that they can work together with people from across the political and social spectrum. So I would like to just reiterate, thank you for covering this event. This is a very important bill. This is a tremendously important issue, and I'm proud to be working with my colleagues to support it.
If a veteran is struggling, what do you recommend their first step into seeking, help with?
I think the VA right away.
The VA has a 24-hour crisis hotline. I unfortunately don't have the number with me that I can give you right now, but that's something that we talked about during the Veterans Suicide Task Force. They do have a 24-hour crisis hotline that is manned. It's not, if you call that, you will not get an automatic message saying that, somebody will get back to you later. So the VA is a tremendous resource. There are also just a number of great groups throughout the state that are working to help veterans. Team Red, White, and Blue, obviously the Legion and the VFW. There are resources out there, and as my fellow senators touched on earlier, and as was asked in the question, there are things that are wrong with our country, but we treat our veterans a lot better now, than we did a couple decades ago, and that's something that I'm very proud of.
Military One Source is another opportunity for veterans to contact if they have thoughts of suicide. The other one is local townships have family services, therapy that they provide. In the south suburbs, I know that from New Lenox Township, sorry, I'm speaking, sorry if I'm yelling at me. Just to reiterate.
So you can tell we're
yeah,
rookies. We
I know.
don't do this as well as the leadership does.
Yeah. Soldiers they just tell you how it is. It's the way it is. But, Military One Source is a great opportunity. And then local townships. So in the southwest suburbs, Orland Township, New Lenox Township, Rich Township, and Bremen Township all have a youth and family services department where they offer psychiatric evaluations. And if you're having suicide thoughts, they can refer you on from there. So there is ample opportunity. The VA, though, I'll just tell you right now, they have counselors on staff all the time. And this is something where, although it may have been hidden back in the Vietnam generation to help people, it's way out in the open now, and people understand that PTSD is a very serious thing. It's not a disorder. It's just something that comes from combat and other things that happen maybe in the military. So